Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Slingluff, and I'm here at Kraft, and I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the Waza Tube Amp Expander, the new product from Boss, which is a bit complex. So I'm going to go through some of the salient features on it because it's not just a reactive load device, an attenuator for your amplifier, but it also adds effects to your amplifier, to the live speaker cabinet, and also becomes a great direct out system for doing recording or going straight to front of house. So first, let's talk about what it is. So as you can hear as I'm playing, I've got this lovely Marshall setup, and I've got the master volumes way over halfway. I'm almost fully cranked on these things. And this is one of the things that we want to try and do with a guitar amplifier. I don't know if you guys think about it, like all the classic amplifiers you've loved throughout the years, all those classic records you love, all those sounds you hear on records, and you're like, I want to sound like that. Well, if you think about the amps that a lot of those people use, they didn't even have a master volume, right? You look at like Led Zeppelin playing a Plexi, Brian May playing an AC30, Bassmans, you name it. All those classic amplifiers didn't have a master volume. And this is part of the great part about true, good, high-quality amp tone is that a thing that most people don't realize is that the last tube is actually the first tube to start distorting because each tube adds a little bit of gain. So a small signal on the first tube increases and starts to hit the last tube first. And as soon as it hits that last tube, it starts to do all those cool things that we love about tube amplifiers, right? It starts pulling power from the power transformers, which starts to affect the B+ voltage, which affects all the other tubes' harmonics, and they dance, and they do all kinds of unique things. How many of you gone to rehearsal, you start to play, and your band members tell you, turn your amp down, you're too loud, and you turn it down, and there's that spot where all of a sudden it's an instant sad maker, because what happens? You turn it down, and it no longer feels correct. Well, that's because that power tube isn't getting hit, because that master volume lives between the preamp section and the power amp section. So I want to encourage you to try and get, not turn your master volume down and your preamp volume up, but do the opposite. But if you do that in today's world, you're going to get yelled at by a lot of people. So a device like this, the Waza Tube Amp Expander, will let you do that and so much more. So first off, what is reactive load device? Well, a reactive load device is that it acts like a speaker. When I tell you an amplifier is in, the cabinet 16 ohms, really it's 16 ohms at 1K, at 1,000 hertz. But the reality is that low frequencies and high frequencies, it's got a bit of a scoop to it, right? So the impedance is much, much higher at low frequencies at the resonant point, much higher at the high frequencies. And in fact, those high frequencies get fed back into the amplifier, and they become your presence knob on your amplifier. So they're very, very different depending on the reactive loads. So this is a reactive load device. So the amplifier would traditionally push down to the speaker moves, it sends that voltage back up into the amplifier, causing your presence knob and some other interactions that are going on there. With a reactive load device, what we want to do is try and mimic that speaker interactivity. And so with this guy, we've got 16 different reactive loads. So if I have a 412 with greenback cabinets in it, a 412 cabinet with greenback speakers in it, 412 with vintage 30s or G12 T75s, I can tune to match that so that the transformer, the presence knob, everything inside this amplifier can match and mimic. The other thing that goes on with this amplifier is that we've got an attenuator here. Now, what you typically see on any type of load device is that they're not going to allow the attenuator to be smooth. It's going to be stepped. But with this guy, you've got a smooth attenuation. So now, one of the things that's cool about this is that typically when you turn down something and you're sitting in the room in it, there's a feature on this that humans have called, we refer to as the Fletcher-Munson curve. And that is that when we listen to devices, when it's loud, we hear bass, mid, and treble at the same proportionate levels. When you turn them down, what you start to do is lose our ability to hear treble and bass, right? That's why the old stereo systems with the loudness button on them was there to try and compensate for this. This has a feature in it that you can actually set it so that it does that automatically as you move up and down, and it keeps that proportion really, really nice. So the amp sounds the same to you at a small volume as it does at a loud volume. A great feature of that is that when you go to play with a band, if you've done your presets at home at a low volume, they actually will sit nice with the band instead of falling apart, which is the traditional problem we've all seen. Now, what's unique about this Waza Tube Amp Expander, outside of its really awesome reactive load features, is that when you get over here into this effects section, you have 10 different rigs, which are basically presets, which encapsulate several different things. First off, there's an effects loop. Now, what you're hearing right now, hopefully if we've got it set up for the sound, is this microphone that's down here on this cabinet. Later we're going to show you the direct outs. But the microphone on the cabinet, because everything I do here is going to come through this live speaker cabinet. So right now, let's go ahead and add a little bit of an effects loop. I've got the new SY1 from Boss over here, so I'm just going to do like a little bass synth kind of thing. So let's see. What's cool about that is that's coming through the live speaker cabinet. So if I had one of those old classic amplifiers or this modern amplifier, I can actually put an effects loop to it if it didn't even have one. So you could take like an old classic Plexi and put an effects loop in it. How many people have you've known who had those things modified and the modification kind of ruined the tone a little bit? Never touch it again, right? You add an effects loop to anything with no problem at all. In addition to that, you hear some delay on my signal right now? That's a feature that's in here. And again, it's coming through the live cabinet. In addition to that, you notice that I have this button that says Solo EQ. I can either EQ this amplifier to make on the foot switch, maybe hit a button and get the thing like to push a certain frequency for a solo. I can use it just to get loud. So in this case, stupid fun for everybody. In addition to this, you notice the amp control switch. With that, I can tell this amplifier to actually switch, because it's a 2-channel amplifier that has a 1/4 inch in on it, have it switch to its clean channel. So I can get it switched over there. Now you notice the volume dropped on that. Classic problem with an amplifier like this is I can never set the drive low enough to get a pretty clean tone and match up to my high gain tone really well. So with this, and I've got preset 2 set here right now on rig number 2, I'm actually going to use the compressor to do some gain adjustment and stuff like that. So now I've got a little bit of... So I can add compression, I can add some EQ to make it a little chimier, not so mid-rangey. Of course, then I've also got the delay and reverb and effects on it. In addition to that, let's go back to this original sound that I had. If we take this guy and turn these all off, let's add some reverb to it. Again, all of this is going straight to the live speaker cabinet, doing wonderful things. If we roll around and look at the back of the amplifier, this thing is not only great for incorporating into your live rig and what you're doing there, but it is also working and doing amazing things on the output. On the output of it, we've got a stereo XLR setup on it, which gives us all these effects that you're hearing. Through the cabinet, they're mono, of course, but to the output, they're actually stereo, which is a wonderful feature. There's 2 XLRs for stereo, which are controlled by the line level output here. And if we can pull those up so to let you guys hear those a little bit, let's go with preset 2 a little bit. So I can go out the XLR direct for recording or, of course, straight to the front of house. But if you're going to front of house, there's also a separate XLR, which is front of house. I love the fact that it uses XLRs on this because if you're recording, I don't know about you guys, but in my studio, I've used way too many of those 1/4 inch TRS to XLR adapters. And if you're going live, live is always going to be mic level, and they're always going to be going for XLR. So you're either going to end up using some type of adapter that you have to bring, or you're going to go through a DI box, which who wants to do that when you can connect directly to it via the XLR. On the output, you also have, of course, the effects loop. I mentioned that earlier. The effects loop on this has both serial or parallel operation at +4 or -10. And as we move past that, we have, for outputs, of course, a headphone output, so you can sit around and do recording there, and also a USB output. The USB can be used for the editor, which you see back here on my computer, which shows the signal flow, and you can get in and do all the deep editing and set up all your presets for going down to the device. You can also choose your speaker cabinets. on the speaker cabinet outs, there's 22 different speaker cabinets. You can choose mic position. You can even choose whether it's in an anechoic chamber or one of 2 different rooms. And if you want, a very popular thing to do is download your own IRs. So you can put your own IRs in there and use those as well. So it's a really beautiful system for that. With the USB output that I mentioned a moment ago, you can actually use that as an audio interface as well. So not only is it the editor, it's not only the way that you download your IRs, but it's a way for you to actually do recording. So literally, I don't need a speaker cabinet for my live gig or for my recording. I can take just this head, this Waza Tube Amp Expander, and my laptop. I can go to my hotel room tonight and record all night long with a 100-watt amp cranked, and nobody's going to know the wiser, right? So it's a beautiful scenario. For the outputs, for the inputs, you have speaker in, which is 4, 8, or 16 ohms. So you plug the direct out from your speaker into that, and you have a parallel output for going to 2 different cabinets if you would like. A lot of other options like MIDI, of course. And as you can see, I've been using the optional GAFC foot controller down here. With that, I can not only change through the 10 rig presets that are available to us, but I can also do effects on and off, like the effects loop, the reverb on and off. The delay, I can even do tap tempo from it. And if I want, there's an expression pedal in on it. I could even add a volume control for that. But if not using the GAFC, of course, there's MIDI, so you can use it with your MIDI controller or any device like that. So Waza Tube Amp Expander, it really is an awesome device, not only for somebody who's trying to record, but for anybody who's doing in-ear monitors live, for anybody who's recording at home, anybody who's playing at home at quiet volumes, and then anybody who wants to get loud with their band. And one thing I want to mention with getting loud with your band, obviously right now I'm taking this 100-watt amp and I'm bringing it down to a reasonable volume in this room, but I can also do the opposite, which is a unique feature of this device. I can take a 10-watt amplifier, and there's a 100-watt amplifier built inside of this thing, and I can actually make it 100 watts loud. So I can have my favorite little small wattage amp that I use at home, and I can actually connect it to a big 412 cabinet and drive the room quite nicely. So Waza Tube Amp Expander, they're available now, and they are super fun, and I think they're a really great way to incorporate into your amplifier, provide new preset ability to an old amplifier, new tones, and really just pull out those great amps that you have sitting in the closet that are too loud for anybody and put them back to work, right? So I'm Jeff with Boss, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.